now it is my great pleasure and privilege to welcome Lieutenant Governor for the great state of Texas, Dan Patrick. Governor Patrick was first elected Lieutenant Governor of Texas in 2014 and re-elected in 2018 and 2022 and soon 2026. Since he last joined us at the Texas Policy Summit, President Donald J. Trump named Governor Patrick to chair his important Presidential Commission on Religious Liberty that will deliver recommendations to the President to preserve and expand religious liberty in our country. He's a preeminent voice for principled conservative politics, both in Texas and across the nation. Governor Patrick has been called the most effective lieutenant governor in Texas history. He's a great friend to TPPF and everyone in this room. Please help me welcome Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick.
Hi, everybody. Thank you. Thank you all. Please have a seat. I now knight all of you in this room. I brought 3 special things for you today. The key is if you're standing when I'm leaving, then I know I will have done a good job. What did I bring these for today? I know you're asking this. By the way, Senator Téllez, who was here, and I mean this in all sincerity, that's a courageous person. She literally puts her life on the line. We don't know what that's like in America and Texas, but you have to admire her greatly. For me, if I say something like really controversial, the worst that happens is a quorum report writes about it, which is okay because no one reads it anyway. Is Scott Braddock here? Oh, I forgot he doesn't work, unless it's after 11 at night, so we're all good. So why did I bring my wand? Boy, these lights are bright. Because today, I want to share some bubbles with you. Let me see if I can get this in here. Oh, it's tough when it's wiggling. There we go. I have good bubbles for you today. And in a little bit, I'm going to pull out a different wand. This one. Because I'm going to burst a few bubbles. All right? I want you to remember the bubbles today. The good, the bad, and not the ugly, but the good and the bad. First of all, when Greg was out here talking, he talked about all the accomplishments that you all have had. And he's absolutely right. Without the people in this room growing every year, sold out this year at every event, without the people in this room, Texas would not be the miracle that we are today. That's just the bottom line truth. That's not a phony baloney pat on the back. You've invested your treasure, you've invested your time, you've invested your ideas, and this organization has grown over time from when Jim Leininger and a few others started it, and Tim Dunn and a handful of people, and had a handful of employees and a handful of ideas into the greatest conservative think tank on the planet today. So give yourselves a hand. I'm only as good as the senators around me. As you know, I have 5 openings this year because we had a conservative become a chancellor of a university. Isn't that a great thing at Texas Tech and Brandon Creighton? And we have another conservative who was controller at Texas A&M. Think about that. Howdy. We have Brian Birdwell, who's now in a high position at the Pentagon under Secretary Hegseth. And we have Robert Nichols, who we honor, who is retired. And then we have Mays Middleton, who I think will be your next Attorney General. So I have 5 openings. And then we have one more opening. and she's running here today. Where's Lee? Lee Wamgans? Or would you stand up? I can't see you. Oh, there you are, Lee. I can't see you at all. Please give Lee a hand. She will win in November. I'm not here to talk politics because I know I'm not supposed to, but I am going to talk politics in the realm of what it means to policy. And then Adam Hinojosa, I understand you're here. Adam, somewhere? Adam, stand up. Adam Hinojosa, our second Hispanic Republican in history to serve in the Texas Senate. That was one of my goals when I was elected. We didn't have an Hispanic senator, ever. And we got Pete Flores elected, and now we've gotten Adam elected, and he had a great session. How many bills did you pass? 41 bills as a freshman. Now, a really bad performance, excuse my sniffles, would be if you passed less than 10. I passed 6 as a freshman. But there's hope, you see. See, because when I became a senator, I came in with a little different view, a little different time, when we still had some moderates in the Senate who didn't see the things the way you see them, for the most part, or I saw them, and I appreciate their service. But when I came in, there were 8 there was myself and 8 new senators. And the first thing we did was change the rules so that the majority that we were had a chance to rule. It was called the blocker bill. Back in those days when I was a senator, you had to have 21 votes to bring a bill to the floor. We only had 20 senators. That's the most we've ever had. That meant we had to go to the Democrats every time we wanted to pass a bill. Whether it was a Second Amendment bill or a pro-life bill, whatever the bill was, a tax cut, didn't matter. I'd go over there sometimes and say, at that time, the current mayor of Austin was a senator, and he was the caucus chair, I guess, in the second session. And we're not letting you bring that bill up today. Madison talked about the tyranny of the minority, and that's where we were. And we do work across the aisle with our Democrats. About 98% of all the bills we pass have Democrat votes, maybe 1, 2, some unanimous, like property tax cuts, which I'll get into in a little bit. It's good to work on a bipartisan basis. We like to get a bill out of the Senate and send it over to the House. If it has a few Democrats on it, it's a good chance we get a little bit more Democrat help over there. But make no mistake, we do not water down conservative legislation because we don't have to get a vote. We have the majority, and when you're the majority, you need to act like the majority and pass the conservative legislation that the voters ask us to pass, because that's why we're the majority. It's real simple. The Democrats are really good at sticking together. Sometimes, and now I'm talking about Washington, the Washington Republicans aren't always good about sticking together. But here in Texas, I've got a great Senate. So the good bubbles, a lot of good bubbles to talk about in the last 10 years since I've been lieutenant governor, because of the people around me, because of all of you. I could go through a long list, but one I want to hit first. When I spoke to you last year, when session started, and the year before, I talked about passing school choice. We passed school choice. I've been trying for 10 years. And quite frankly, there were Republicans, rural Republicans for the most part, and I respected their view, but they had a view that it wasn't good for them and that their people really didn't want it. No, the superintendents didn't want it. The people wanted it. The parents wanted it. But we finally got it passed. Now where's Jim Leininger? Dr. Jim, would you and your beautiful bride, Cecilia, stand up, please? Just stand up. We would not have school choice today without the Leiningers. I don't know how many millions you spent, how many times you supported candidates who only ended up disappointing you. We didn't disappoint you. Let me tell you about the success of school choice. I always believe this. I always believe that if we pass school choice, all those who voted against it for all those years would come back the next year and say, I'm with you now. I always believe they'd come back and say, we need to expand the program. And that's what's going to happen next session. You know why? because we had 274,000 parents apply for 100,000 spots. 274,000 parents of all income levels, of all color, of all school districts say, I want to choose the best choice for my child. This is a significant victory for Texas. And for America, it will change public education. We want our public education system to be great. We want it to be the best in the country. We have a lot of great schools. We have mostly good schools. And we have a few bad schools. No parent should ever be forced to send their child to a bad school or a school that does not fit their child. I'll give you this number just so you repeat it to your friends sometimes when they ask you, but you're taking money away from public education. It's absolutely not true. Our budget for public education this year, about $40 billion. How much for school choice? $1 billion. We didn't take it away from the education system. We just created new money because of our growing economy, because of conservative policies, because of businesses coming here and creating jobs, because 1,600 people a day move here, because we went from 18 million people to 30 million people. Our sales tax revenues have flowed in, growing our economy. That's what we're supposed to do. That's what Greg Abbott and I, our main job is to keep you safe. Number two, to create jobs. We are the miracle in the world in terms of our economy. We're the 7th largest economy. We will soon be the 6th largest economy. We are a nation state because of conservative Republican principles. That's why, and because of all of you in this room. That's a good bubble. How about another bubble? We have passed every pro-life bill you could possibly pass before Roe v. Wade was overturned, thank God. But we had taken abortions down in my tenure from 2011 when I passed the sonogram bill that said every woman going into a Planned Parenthood should have a right to see that sonogram because they were not given that right before. We cut abortions that year from 80,000 to 50,000, and by the time we passed the heartbeat bill before Roe v. Wade was overturned, we gotten abortions down in this state down to about 15,000 a year. Almost eliminated them. Since we passed the sonogram bill in 2011, according to the Health and Human Service information, there were somewhere in the neighborhood of 300,000 little Texans born that may not have been born. That's a big bubble. We passed every second amendment bill you could pass that the NRA doesn't even call me anymore. We passed, under my tenure, campus carry, open carry, constitutional carry. You can carry your gun anywhere you want in Texas. Think about what the Iranian citizens would be doing in the streets today if they had had guns. The Ayatollah and that regime would no longer be in power. We have to have a gun to protect our families and to protect our rights. Think about all the things we've done for business, the business courts. I could go on and on. The things we've done from a cultural standpoint that I'm proud of. We do not let men go into the ladies' room in Texas. We do not let boys play girls' sports in Texas. But it took a while. Remember in 2017, when I was accused of passing the bathroom bill. Dan's so terrible. Lois Cole, of course, carried that bill. We got beat to smithereens. I mean, it was just, I was getting crushed. Even by some Republicans, even by some businesses. Well, Dan, you know, you shouldn't interfere in our business. Let's make that choice. And I said, okay, so tell me, in the C-suite, are you letting men go into the ladies' rooms? Well, no, but I said, well, I don't want them to go into a ladies' room anywhere because it would allow perverts to go into a ladies' room and say, oh, I'm in transition. I can be here. No, it was wrong. We were ahead of the curve in 2017 in Texas. It took about 6 years, 7 years for the rest of the country to figure it out, and there's still some idiots in blue states that haven't figured it out. So Texas has led in so many areas, so many ways. Big, great bubbles. Property taxes. I hear about property taxes all the time. I ran for the Senate in 2007 to lower your property taxes. I had a really hard time as a senator getting anything passed because at that time the county judges and the mayors controlled the votes in the legislature. They didn't want us interfering. Do you know back then when your appraisal went up, your tax bill went up the same for the most part? If your appraisal went up 8%, your tax bill went up 8%. If your appraisal went up 10%, it still went up 8% because that was the cap. They could raise you 8% every year and there wasn't anything you could do about it. But if they went over 8%, then there had to be a vote. They never went over 8%. School districts were growing at 8%. On and on and on. I saw that as a problem and we tackled the problem when I became lieutenant governor. But there's more to do. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. But today I can tell you, because of the $200,000 homestead exemption, and I want you to put this in perspective. Is there anyone in here over 65? Okay. I think a few. Anyone over 65 who lives in an average home in Texas no longer pays school property taxes for the rest of their life. We eliminated it when we gave them a $200,000 homestead exemption, and when I became lieutenant governor in 2015, the homestead exemption was a measly $15,000. So seniors, now if you live in a $700,000, $800,000, $1 million house, you may pay a little bit, but the average senior doesn't live in that house. The average senior lives in a home somewhere between $250,000 and $300,000 in Texas. It's gone. We've eliminated property taxes. And within the next 2 sessions, I believe we can eliminate all school property taxes for everyone, including those under 65. We're going to get it done. I'm going to talk about that, though, a little bit in a moment. Again, forgive my sniffles. Now I want to talk about, I'm not even going to get my bad bubble wand out. But you know, I should, because I don't want you to forget this. And I say bad bubbles, it's just a matter of making sure that we don't forget the message, okay? I mean, this is kind of silly, you might say, but when you leave, you won't forget. Okay, let me get that back in there. So we good on good bubbles? We're good on good bubbles. I could go on for an hour and a half telling you everything we passed. I mean, I had 40 priority bills this last session. Priority bills are number 1 to 40. We passed about 1,500 bills, so the bottom 40 numbers are the most important. They're not all my priorities. They're your priorities, senators' priorities. We get ideas from everyone. We passed all 40 in the Senate. Since I've been lieutenant governor, I've had 40, gosh, 5 times, I think we've had about 160 priority bills we've passed, all but 2. And most of them have gotten to the governor's desk. The Senate leads. I love the House. By the way, there was some controversy about our current speaker a year ago, how he was elected. But once he was elected, then I decided I want to work with him. Because I can tell you, I had no hope and help working with the previous 2 speakers. I'm just sorry. It's just the way it is. But this speaker reached out and worked with me in a way that I've never seen before. And we passed more conservative legislation in this past session than in the history of Texas. And so I do thank the speaker, and I thank all those conservative House members who made it happen. Give them an applause. I can pass all the bills all day long, but they don't get through the House, which they didn't get through the House the last time, the session before. So, what's a bubble we need to be concerned about? One, I want to go back to property taxes for a moment. And I know we have, and I have so much respect for everybody on the board with TPPF and everybody, you know, I think it's 80 or 90 employees now. We get so much great information from them. Greg is great. Brooke was great before him. And so this isn't a complaint. This is just an explanation. There's been this push that the only way we can eliminate property taxes is through compression. And what is compression? Compression is reducing the tax rate. And when you reduce the tax rate, we're not taking away money from school districts. We're writing the check for you. For every $1 billion that we spend in compression, reducing the tax rate, for every billion, we save a homeowner $30 a year. Pretty costly. Something else about compression. Compression is just a statute. If we were to lose to the Democrats and they were in charge of the state, they could take all of that money back like that. And your taxes would go right back up. For every $1 billion we spend on homestead exemptions, we save the average taxpayer about $130 per billion. So if I spend $10 billion on compression, I saved you $300. $10 billion is a lot of money. If I spend $10 billion on compression, I save you $1,300. So we've increased the homestead exemption by spending less to get more. And to put this in perspective, in 2017, because once we pass it, we have to keep doing it. Except if it's compression, anyone can stop doing it any legislative session and take all that money back. Homestead exemption, you all voted for it in the constitutional amendments last November. Every time we increase the homestead exemption, the voters vote for it over 80%. They get it. In 2017, to reduce your property taxes, the state of Texas budget spent $3 billion. $3 billion. It's a lot of money. This year, we spent $51 billion for property tax relief. But I know what you're saying, Dan, my taxes are still high, they're still going up. Well, that's because your local property taxes are increasing. Governor Abbott has a plan focused on that. We'll work with him, he'll work with us, we'll work with the speaker, but we're going to continue to reduce your property taxes. We need to push down on the cities and the counties from raising your taxes, taking away some of the savings we've given you. But to eliminate all school property taxes for everyone, it has to be through the homestead exemption for two reasons. It's guaranteed in the Constitution, you can't take it away, and for every billion is $1,300 compared to every billion for compression is $30. So of that $51 billion, $37 billion is for compression today and only $14 billion for homestead. If we move some money from the compression side to the homestead exemption, I'm telling you folks, within 2 sessions, we'll eliminate all school property taxes for everybody. So that's a good bubble, but we've all got to come together on the bubble that we cannot eliminate property taxes with compression, and we cannot eliminate all property taxes totally, which I know a lot of people say, please do that. I'd love to. And I can do it next session if you want. To eliminate all property taxes, all we have to do is increase the sales tax from, which is 6.25 cents, to 25 cents. That's what it would take. You know, we don't have an income tax. We'll never have an income tax. We put a stake through that heart in the Constitution. Only 2 things we have, sales tax and property tax. So if you eliminate all property taxes, 25 cents on everything you buy. If we eliminate all school taxes, just that, we'd have to raise it from 6 cents to 15 cents. So you're going to hear all kinds of numbers from all kinds of people in different town hall meetings and whatever. Those are the facts. I specifically had hearings last interim to get those numbers because I would hear people say, well, yeah, I can do it for 3 cents. You can't do it for 3 cents. Crazy. 25 cents to eliminate all property taxes, 15% to eliminate all school taxes, but we can eliminate all school taxes by increasing the homestead exemption from about for $200,000 for everyone. Right now it's $140,000 for under 65, $200,000 for seniors. We get that homestead exemption up to about $400,000. We pretty much wipe it out for every average Texan. And by the way, what I want to do next session, and this is a good bubble, I want to pass the double nickel. I think we'll pass it in the Senate. Hopefully the House will pass it. Hopefully the governor will sign it. I want to pass that, and what's the double nickel? 55. I want to take the freeze on home values today, 65. We get 65, great, my home values are frozen, can never go up. I want to reduce it to 55. I want to take it down to 55. That will save the average homeowner about $10,000 to $15,000 more in the decade between being 55 and 65, and it will remove 3.3 million people off the tax rolls of never having to worry about, not off the tax rolls, the values ever going up again. You know, today, if you're 48 or 49 years old and you're on a home, you say, gosh, I got to wait another almost 20 years before my values are frozen. You only have to wait 5 or 6 or 7. And we need to find a way to help people who are first-time home buyers on their property taxes for the first few years in their homes. Today, the average age of a homeowner in Texas is 58 years of age. The average new homeowner is 38. If we're going to have a growing economy, we have to make housing affordable. We passed a number of bills last session to make housing more affordable, to take away the city rules and regulations that makes it expensive. You have to have a big lot to buy a house. Not everybody needs a big lot to buy a house. We can buy smaller houses, smaller lots, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I am focused on making sure school taxes are eliminated for every homeowner in Texas in the next 2 sessions. And we're going to get it done, just like we got school choice done, like we got rid of abortion. We can do it together, united together, and I look forward to working with TPPF on that. Give me a time. What time is it? 12:55, okay. I've got 10 minutes to tell you the worst bubble of all, okay? Because I can come out here and be rah, 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 and I can come out here and have fun, as I have in the past. And again, this is not political. This is about policy. Because if Democrats are in charge, guess what? You have nothing to do next year. What would TPPF be doing on policy if Democrats control the state? How can that happen? Lee Wamgans ran a good race, well-funded. President Trump endorsed her. Governor Abbott endorsed her. I endorsed her. Every grassroots person endorsed her. Because Kelly Hancock left, for those of you who don't understand the mechanism here quickly, when he left, it was an open seat, so it was an open election. Anyone could run for it, Republicans, Democrats. One Democrat ran, Lee ran, and another Republican ran. 3 of them. That's a district that in November of 2025, when the president was elected, was it 25? Yes, 25? 24, excuse me. He's been there a year and a half. Goes, you know, when he's doing a heck of a great job, it goes fast. When Biden was there, it seemed like he'd never end, you know? I talked to the president yesterday morning. He always fascinates me. We've talked twice in the last 10 days, and I don't say that to drop names. He talks to, you know, Texas a lot because a lot's going on in Texas. He's very interested in the politics of what's going on right now because he knows America can't exist without Texas being red. And it fascinated me because when he called me yesterday, and it was about a 40-minute phone call, I'm thinking, here's the day he's getting ready to bomb the heck out of Iran. Got a lot on his plate. But that's how important you all are. That's how important Texas is. The world cannot survive without a strong America. And America cannot survive without Texas being red. You can't win the White House with the electoral votes of New York, California, and Texas being in the hands of a blue state. You can't do it. We're at a real key point because what happened in Lee's race? So Trump won her district, the old Kelly Hancock district, by 17 points. Her opponent, the Democrat, was a 33-year-old single guy no one ever heard of. Just slapped his name on the ballot for the hell of it. His name is Taylor Ramette. I mean, I called him. You know, he won. I mean, you know, he has nothing to do right now until he would have to win again in November, which Lee's going to beat him in November, with your help. But he got 46% of the vote. An unknown. 46%. The Democrats are angry. They do have Trump syndrome. They don't like what we've done in Texas because all these things I talked about, they're against. They're against your Second Amendment rights. They're for abortion. They were against school choice. They want higher taxes, not lower taxes. Everything all of you in this room are for, they are against. And he got 46% of the vote. She beat the other Republican. Guess what? the other Republican, I won't even mention his name. But John didn't help her. Her Republican opponent refused to endorse her. She lost by 14,000 votes in the runoff. 19,000 Republicans voted for her opponent in the first round. Had he helped her, she wins. She wins. Now, why is that important? Because we have one nasty race, and I'm just going to call it for what it is, for the U.S. Senate, and it troubles me. I've run tough campaigns on policy, but I've never run a campaign on personally attacking anyone. And I'm not blaming Cornyn, and I'm not blaming Paxton. I can blame both of them. But I wish they'd spend the next 5 weeks or 6 weeks, quite frankly, running positive ads on why they should be elected, because it's not helping our party by tearing each other apart. And at the end of the day, and I give a challenge to both of them today, I'm making this challenge today. John Cornyn, if you lose, you need to endorse Ken Paxton and get your voters to support Ken Paxton. And Ken Paxton, if you lose, you need to endorse John Cornyn and get your voters to support John Cornyn. Because if 10 to 15% of either of their sides don't turn out and vote, James Tallarico is going to win. That's the bubble. We've seen it. We've seen it. 74,000 Republicans did not turn out to vote for her, and she lost by 14,000 because they stayed home. It's a red district. So anyone in this room who thinks we're a red state, Abbott can't lose, Patrick can't lose, that's just not right. Now, I think we're going to win. I think we're all going to come together. But we must, after this election, unite behind whoever wins that Senate race. Remember what it was like in 2018 with Beto O'Rourke? Ted Cruz barely got by. Abbott's win margin was less than it was in 14. My win margin was less than it was in 14 because Beto was over there. So this is what you got to process. If Cornyn doesn't support Paxton or Paxton doesn't support Cornyn, and 10 to 15% of their voters don't vote, we lose the Senate seat, which means we could lose the entire Senate. And we've got to get those people who vote for Tallarico with all of his crazy policies and beliefs. We got to convince those people to cross back over and vote for Greg Abbott and Dan Patrick and Dawn Buckingham. So, folks, this is real. With all the wonderful things we've done, and we haven't been perfect, we haven't done it all right, we have more to do. But all the great things you have done to put us in this position. We've only been in power for 23 years. It wasn't until 2003 we had all Republican statewide and a Republican majority in the House and the Senate. America depends on us. We cannot lose if we will unite as one, because people believe in the policies that we passed. That's why we've been winning. That's why Greg Abbott won by 1 million votes, and I won by almost 1 million votes. That's why. It's the policies, and that's why TPPF is so important, and other organizations like TLR and all these other organizations, all of us. We have to come together. So do not take this for granted. Remember the bad bubbles. A lot of good bubbles. Remember the bad bubble. Don't wake up on the day after election in November and say, Patrick was right. Because I don't think we're going to lose. I'm just saying there is a pathway there. I mean, we're going to elect a guy who says God is multiple genders, that there are 6 genders. I mean, it's just crazy stuff. I mean, a guy who ran his 22 campaign when he's running the no meat campaign in Texas, no meat? Is he kidding me? I mean, maybe if he'd eaten a steak sometime in his life, he wouldn't have all these crazy ideas. And they call him a moderate. I even heard Fox say, well, he's, Jasmine Crockett is an extremist, but James Tallarico, he's a moderate pastor. I don't know what church he goes to. But I go to church. I know God. I listen to his voice. Jesus is my Savior. I'm just telling you that I'm going to pray for James Tallarico. Not to win, but actually to read the Bible and see what God has to say. Because if he'll actually read the Bible, listen to what God and Jesus has to say, he won't have a campaign. Because there's no way the Bible supports abortion. There's no way the Bible supports men and ladies' rooms. And then on public policy, he wants to open the border and put out the welcome mat for everyone. Remember, they could have Daffy Duck on the ticket and they still get 43 or 40% of the vote walking in the door. That's about the Democrat base in the state. So he can't get to over 50 unless Cornyn's people or Paxton's people decide to skip the race because they're mad that their guy lost. Get over it. Get over it and come together as one. I'm blessed to be your lieutenant governor. I'm going to run the toughest race I've ever run because I have to prepare. If we have trouble at the top of the ticket to get those people to come over and vote for me. Because that's the question. If they vote for Tallarico, do they come back over and vote for Greg Abbott and Dan Patrick? Who's that voter? Who's that voter? We pulled that off at 18 because there were some people who voted for Cruz. More people voted for me. More people voted for Abbott. But man, that's a tough road to go down. And make no mistake, because of the race that we lost, the Democrats and George Soros will pour hundreds of millions of dollars. We're going to have a tough time holding the Texas House. I think our Senate's in good shape. Take nothing for granted. But I think our Senate's in good shape. But you're going to have House members. You're going to have to fight for everything we've accomplished this year. This year. And I'm dedicated to it. I'm going to run a tough campaign. I'm going to run a revolutionary campaign. You're going to see it soon. And I'm not giving up Texas, and I'm not giving up the fight. And I'm here with you all the way. I just need for you to be with us. Thank you, and God bless. Thank you all. Thank you.